Hi, in this program we will see how to convert kilometers to miles. That is not the actual intention, or that is not what you are going to learn. You are going to learn how to create the GUI. So basically we want to create a GUI, and user should be able to input kilometers and he should be able to get the miles, and he should be able to get the kilometers. So this is the output we want. So we want the output to look something like this. User is going to enter miles and he is going to see kilometers as the output. Now let us see how to place them on the grid. What are the widgets that we have here and how to place them on the grid. See, directly converting is nothing but multiplying it with a formula 1.609. So that is not the intention. Intention is to teach you how to create the GUI here. Now in the GUI, if you look at the grid layout, it is going to look something like this. So this is a entry, but label button. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 labels, one entry and one button is there. And if you look at the layout, so if you look at this entry, it is at row 0 and column 1. Now if you look at miles label, it is at row 0 and column 2. And equal is at row 1 and column 0. And this label 0 is initially 0, but later it will get converted. So this label is at row number 1 and column number 1. So like this we want to place all these widgets on the grid. Okay, so once you remember this layout, you can directly write the program. Let's now go to the program. We have created a new project called miles to kilo converter pipe. Now we are going to import everything from TK Inter. From TK Inter import star, it is going to get everything so that you don't have to always type TK Inter dot. And window is being created using TK. Using TK class, a window is created. Let's have some title to the window. Miles to kilometer converter. And then we want the window to be visible. It should not just flash out. Okay, we want it to be visible. That is why we are putting main loop. Always try to put the main loop when you are working with TK Inter so that the screen will be visible. Now if you run it, you are going to see the title here. Just expand it. You are going to see the title miles to kilometer converter. We got a window. Okay, now let's try to add all the widgets one by one. And you have seen what are all the widgets required. So there is going to be a entry, there is going to be miles label. Show the diagram once. So we have created this label called miles. Okay, go to the program. Miles label has to be label and miles input has to be entry. So miles input is entry here. Just check it out. Do you need a label text there? Go to the diagram once. So we have created this box using entry. Okay. And then we are creating the miles label, which will have miles as the text. That show the diagram. Miles label is created with miles as the text. And then is equal to will be created. Is equal to label. With the text is equal to. Quotes. Put in quotes. Show the diagram. So this one is created, is equal to is created. And now let's create this label. Let's call it as kilometer label. Kilometer result label. So this is going to show the final result of how many kilometers it is for those miles. So initially its text is simply 0. And then kilometer label is created. Show the diagram. This one, this kilometer label is created. And then we have to create this button, calculate. A button is created with text as calculate. Let's now look at the layout of all this. Using grid, we are going to lay them. So nothing is visible because we didn't add the layout manager, right? We have to add a layout manager and place them. So this is the layout we are going to follow. This is 0, 1, 2. This is 0, 1, 2. And based on this, we are going to place the coordinates. Not coordinates, the grid layout. Okay. Row and column. So all these rows and columns you can get from the diagram. You take a paper and lay it out on the paper, and based on those columns and rows, you are going to lay them out in the grid. Okay. So we are just placing them in the grid, nothing difficult. Once you have a pen and paper, and once you draw it on the paper, it will be easy for you to understand which columns and which rows. Now let's try to run it and see. Now we got what we wanted to see. So this is how our output should look like, but we have not added the functionality yet. We'll do that. But one problem is there. This text box, this entry is looking way bigger. We want it to be smaller. Let's set its size to 7 or 5 or 7. You play with it, you'll understand. Entry width to be 7. Now we got a smaller text box here. So this is what we want. Now we can actually write the functionality to convert kilometers to. We are adding config. Okay, we are giving some padding. padding to all the elements. So there is some padding here, here and here. There is padding and the window has grown bigger. Now let's try to define the function which actually converts miles to kilometers. It is simple, multiplying the miles by 1.609. So whatever is there in the miles label, miles not label, miles input. Whatever is there in the miles input, we are reading it by using get method. So whatever user has entered in the text input, that text box, we are reading it by using get, and we are converting it to kilometers by multiplying it with 1.609. There is a small problem here. When we are going to read the input from the user, it will come as a string. Now you cannot multiply a string with a float, therefore convert this input that user has entered while reading into a float. We are doing some typecasting there. Now the string is converted into a float. Now that float is multiplied with a float. And we have to change the kilometer result label. Show the output once. So here this label has to be changed. Whatever user has typed accordingly, we have to convert it into kilometers and it has to be changed. Initially its value is 0. Now we are going to change this value. Okay. So that is why we are doing kilometer result label dot config. We are having the text as, now again this is a float, but we want a string there. Okay, always we want the text to be a string. That is why we are using F strings to convert the kilometer in float into text. Now we have to tie it to the button. So whenever someone clicks on the button, then that method has to be called, which will automatically change the label result. Okay. So for the command we are giving, we are tying this method to the command. Don't give this parenthesis there, because it is just a method which is going to be called whenever someone clicks on the button. So what happens is user has to enter some number in the kilometers or miles text box, and then he has to click on the calculate button, and automatically calculate button is going to call miles to kilometer converter, and this miles to kilometer method is going to show you the final result by manipulating or changing the label. Okay. So now if you give some number, you are going to get some answer, right? Having this too big number is difficult to see, so let's try to round it. Let's try to round it so that you will get only 2 digits. Okay, now it looks simple, it is not precise, it is imprecise, but anyway it looks simple. Okay. So this is the goal of the program. See, the goal of the program is not to convert the miles to kilometers. It is to design the entire GUI and place all the widgets using the grid layout. This is the goal of the program. Okay. Thank you.